The world's glaciers are in peril. These majestic ice formations, which have stood for millennia, are now rapidly disappearing before our eyes. They are melting at an alarming rate, with scientists observing significant ice loss year after year. Far faster than at any other point in human history, the rate of glacier retreat is unprecedented and deeply concerning. This phenomenon, driven by human-induced climate change, poses a significant threat to our planet and future generations. Industrial pollution and greenhouse gas emissions are accelerating this process. From the towering peaks of the Himalayas, where glaciers feed some of the world's most important rivers, to the icy expanse of Greenland, glaciers are retreating at an unprecedented pace, losing billions of tons of ice each year. This rapid ice loss is sending a stark warning about the health of our planet. The melting glaciers are a clear indicator of the broader impacts of climate change. The consequences of this rapid melt are far-reaching, affecting ecosystems, weather patterns, and human communities, impacting everything from global sea levels, which are rising and threatening coastal cities, to freshwater availability for millions of people who rely on glacier-fed rivers for their daily needs. The urgency of this issue cannot be overstated. Immediate and sustained action is required to address the root causes of climate change. We must act now to curb the factors contributing to climate change, such as reducing carbon emissions and transitioning to renewable energy sources. Global climate initiatives and community efforts are essential in mitigating the impacts of this global crisis. Together, we can make a difference and protect our planet for future generations. Glaciers, vast rivers of ice sculpted over millennia, play a critical role in regulating Earth's climate and sustaining life. They act as giant mirrors, reflecting sunlight back into space and helping to regulate global temperatures. These frozen reservoirs store approximately 75% of the world's fresh water, gradually releasing it into rivers and streams, supporting ecosystems and human populations downstream. Their seasonal meltwater feeds rivers, providing a lifeline for agriculture, industry, and ecosystems. Moreover, glaciers are unique ecosystems in themselves, home to specialized species adapted to these extreme environments. Their existence is intricately linked to the health of our planet. Over the past century, glaciers worldwide have experienced a dramatic decline in mass and volume. These majestic ice formations, which have stood for millennia, are now rapidly retreating, leaving behind barren landscapes and disrupted ecosystems. The rate of melting has accelerated significantly in recent decades, driven by rising global temperatures and human activities. This rapid ice loss is not just a distant phenomenon, it has tangible impacts on sea levels, weather patterns, and freshwater supplies. With alarming trends observed across the globe, from the towering peaks of the Andes to the vast ice sheets of Greenland, the situation is dire. Each region tells a story of change, of ecosystems struggling to adapt, and of communities facing uncertain futures. The World Meteorological Organization has reported record-breaking ice loss from glaciers in recent years, highlighting the urgency of the situation. Scientists are ringing alarm bells, urging immediate action to mitigate further damage. With 2020 and 2022 witnessing some of the highest melt rates on record, the data is clear. We are in the midst of a crisis. These years have set unprecedented benchmarks for ice loss, underscoring the need for global cooperation and swift policy changes. These findings paint a bleak picture of the future of glaciers, suggesting that without significant intervention, we may lose these natural wonders entirely. The cascading effects of such loss would be felt worldwide, from rising sea levels to altered weather systems. Projections indicate continued and accelerated melting in the coming decades, driven by ongoing climate change. This trend threatens not only the glaciers themselves, but also the millions of people who depend on them for water, agriculture, and livelihoods. The Himalayan glaciers, often referred to as the third pole due to their vast ice reserves, are particularly vulnerable. These glaciers are a critical water source for much of Asia, feeding major rivers that sustain billions of people. Some studies predict their near-complete disappearance by 2100, a scenario that would have catastrophic consequences for the region. The loss of these glaciers would disrupt water supplies, agriculture, and the overall stability of the region's ecosystems. The consequences of glacier retreat are multifaceted and far-reaching, impacting both the environment and human societies. As glaciers melt, sea levels rise, threatening coastal communities and infrastructure. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates that sea levels could rise by up to 1 meter by 2100, displacing millions of people and causing billions of dollars in damage. Furthermore, glacier melt contributes to the intensification of extreme weather events. The increased freshwater runoff into oceans disrupts ocean currents, leading to more frequent and intense storms, floods, and droughts. The loss of glaciers also disrupts delicate ecosystems, threatening the survival of species that depend on them. Section 5. Our footprint on thin ice. The primary driver of accelerated glacier melting is human-caused climate change. The burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial activities release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, trapping heat and warming the planet. This warming effect is particularly pronounced in polar and high-altitude regions, where glaciers are located. As global temperatures rise, glaciers melt at an accelerated rate. The melting of glaciers further amplifies climate change, as the exposed land and water absorb more solar radiation, leading to a feedback loop that exacerbates warming. This cycle of warming and melting poses a significant threat to the stability of our planet's climate system. Section 6. Turning the tide. Addressing the crisis of melting glaciers requires a multifaceted approach that combines global efforts to mitigate climate change with local adaptation strategies. Scientists are tirelessly working to understand the rapid changes occurring in our polar regions, while communities living near these glaciers are finding innovative ways to adapt to the new realities. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions through a transition to renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and investing in clean technologies are pivotal. Wind turbines, solar panels, and hydroelectric dams are not just symbols of progress, they are the backbone of a sustainable future. Promoting sustainable land use practices such as sustainable farming, reforestation, and eco-friendly urban planning are crucial steps in slowing down global warming. These practices not only help in reducing carbon footprints, but also in restoring the natural balance of our ecosystems. International cooperation is essential in implementing these solutions on a global scale. Climate change is a global issue that transcends borders, and it requires a unified response from all nations. The Paris Agreement, adopted by nearly 200 countries, represents a significant step towards a collective response to climate change. This landmark accord aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius, with efforts to keep it to 1.5 degrees. However, stronger commitments and accelerated action are needed to meet the goals of the agreement and avert the worst impacts of climate change. The urgency of the situation is underscored by the increasing frequency of extreme weather events, which serve as stark reminders of the consequences of inaction. Public protests and grassroots movements are pushing for more ambitious climate policies, while renewable energy projects are being scaled up to meet the growing demand for clean energy. The time to act is now, and every effort counts in turning the tide against climate change. Section 7. Adapting to a new reality. Alongside global mitigation efforts, adapting to the impacts of glacier retreat is crucial, especially for communities directly reliant on glacial meltwater. Implementing sustainable water management practices, such as rainwater harvesting and water-efficient irrigation systems, can help to mitigate the impacts of reduced water availability. Investing in early warning systems for glacial lake outburst floods, or GLOFs, can help to protect downstream communities from these catastrophic events. GLOFs occur when glacial lakes formed by melting glaciers breach their natural dams, releasing massive amounts of water and debris. Section 8. A call to action. The melting of Earth's glaciers is a stark reminder of the urgent need for climate action. The consequences of inaction are far-reaching and pose a significant threat to the well-being of present and future generations. We must act now to reduce our impact on the planet and preserve these vital ecosystems for generations to come. Raising awareness about the importance of glaciers and the threats they face is crucial in galvanizing public support for climate action. Supporting policies that promote renewable energy, sustainable practices, and climate change mitigation is essential in driving the transition towards a more sustainable future. Section 9. Our future in the balance. The fate of Earth's glaciers hangs in the balance. Our actions today will determine whether these icy giants continue to grace our planet or become casualties of our inaction. By embracing sustainable practices, advocating for change, and demanding action from our leaders, we can create a future where both people and glaciers can thrive. The time for complacency is over. The melting of glaciers is a global crisis that demands a global response. Let us act now with urgency and determination to protect